Imagine setting off on the adventure of a lifetime, fueled by the thrill of exploring one of the world's most mysterious and untamed landscapes, the Amazon rainforest. Picture yourself surrounded by the vast, green expanse of the jungle, the air thick with humidity, the sounds of wildlife echoing around you. This was the dream that led Yossi Ghinsberg, a 22-year-old Israeli backpacker, to South America in 1981. In La Paz, Bolivia, Yossi's path crossed with those of three fellow adventurers, Kevin Gale, an American photographer, Marcus Stamm, a Swiss teacher, and Karl Ruprechter, an Austrian geologist. Karl, with his tales of hidden gold and indigenous tribes, convinced the group to join him on an expedition deep into the heart of the Amazon. The prospect of discovering untouched lands and ancient secrets was too enticing to resist. The quartet, filled with excitement and curiosity, set off from La Paz. Descending into the Amazon basin, they traveled by plane, boat, and on foot, navigating through the dense jungle. From the outset, the journey was fraught with difficulties. The terrain was harsh and unforgiving, with thick undergrowth, swamps, and numerous insects. Supplies began to dwindle faster than anticipated, and the reality of the expedition began to sink in. As days turned into weeks, the group faced increasing challenges. Food became scarce, and the physical demands of the trek took a toll on their bodies. Blisters, sores, and infections became common. The group began to doubt Karl's expertise. It became evident that he was not as knowledgeable as he had led them to believe. The promised gold was nowhere to be found, and their search for the indigenous tribes seemed futile. Yossi, Kevin, Marcus, and Karl initially bonded over their shared sense of adventure and the thrill of exploring uncharted territory. Karl's charismatic personality and detailed tales of previous expeditions added to the allure of the journey. They gathered supplies and made meticulous plans, confident in their ability to conquer the wild. Early on, the group encountered their first major challenge, crossing a perilous, snake-infested swamp. The thick mud sucked at their boots, and they had to hack through dense vegetation with machetes. Despite these obstacles, their spirits remained high. They took turns leading the group and maintained a steady pace. As the days passed, the group's supplies dwindled. They had planned for a shorter trip and didn't anticipate the difficulties they would face. Hunting and foraging became increasingly essential. They managed to catch small animals and fish, but it was never enough. Water sources were often contaminated, leading to bouts of illness. Karl's behavior became more erratic as the journey progressed. He seemed to be hiding something, and his navigation skills were questionable. The group's faith in him wavered. Yossi and Kevin began to suspect that Karl had no real plan and was leading them deeper into danger. This realization sowed seeds of distrust and fear. After enduring weeks of hardship, the group reached a critical juncture. They decided to split up due to the lack of food and growing tensions. Yossi and Kevin planned to build a raft and navigate the Tucci River to Rarenebak, a town on the edge of the jungle. Marcus, suffering from trench foot, and Karl decided to hike back to Apollo, the nearest settlement. Yossi and Kevin constructed a simple raft from logs and vines. They hoped the river would provide a quicker and easier route to civilization. Initially, the rafting journey brought some relief. They floated down the river, occasionally steering clear of rapids and submerged rocks. However, the river's currents grew stronger and more dangerous. Rafting down the Tucci River was both exhilarating and terrifying. The river's currents were unpredictable, and they often had to navigate through treacherous rapids. The constant threat of capsizing kept them on edge. They took turns paddling and steering, trying to keep the raft on course. After several days on the raft, disaster struck. The raft hit a rock in the middle of a rapid, and Yossi and Kevin were thrown into the turbulent waters. Kevin managed to swim to shore, but Yossi was carried downstream by the current. Separated and alone, Yossi faced the terrifying reality of surviving in the jungle with no supplies, no map, and no clear sense of direction. He relied on his instincts and sheer willpower, eating whatever he could find: berries, fruits, and even raw eggs from bird nests. Dehydration became a constant threat. Finding clean water was a daily challenge, and he often drank from streams, risking waterborne diseases. Yossi encountered numerous dangers in the jungle. He narrowly escaped attacks by wild animals, including jaguars and snakes. At one point, he found himself face to face with a wild boar, managing to scare it off by screaming and waving his arms. Insects were a relentless menace. with swarms of mosquitoes and ants leaving painful bites and causing infections. As days turned into weeks, Yossi's physical condition deteriorated. His feet were swollen and covered in sores. His body was weakened by malnutrition, and he lost a significant amount of weight. Sleep was nearly impossible due to the constant threat of predators and the harsh environment. Mental exhaustion set in, leading to hallucinations and a growing sense of despair. Isolation took a severe toll on Yossi's mental state. The lack of human contact and the constant threat of death led to hallucinations. He saw and heard things that weren't there, visions of his family, phantom voices offering guidance. These hallucinations were both a curse and a blessing, providing fleeting comfort in an otherwise bleak reality. After 3 weeks of wandering alone in the jungle, Yossi reached his breaking point. Weak, delirious, and covered in insect bites, he contemplated giving up. But a combination of stubbornness and a desire to see his family again kept him going. He decided to follow the river, believing it would eventually lead to a settlement or rescue. Meanwhile, Kevin, after reaching safety, launched a search for Yossi. He managed to get help from local villagers and authorities, organizing search parties to comb the area where they had last seen Yossi. Despite several days of searching, there was no sign of him. Kevin refused to give up, driven by the hope that Yossi was still alive. In a miraculous turn of events, Yossi was found by local indigenous people who were part of the search effort organized by Kevin. They stumbled upon him by the riverbank, barely conscious and on the verge of death. They provided him with immediate care, feeding him and treating his wounds before taking him to the nearest village. Yossi was reunited with Kevin in Rarenabak, where he received medical attention and began his recovery. The two friends were overjoyed to see each other, and their bond was strengthened by the ordeal they had endured. Tragically, Marcus and Carl were never found, and their fate remains unknown. Ruprechter and Stam were never seen or heard from again. Despite attempts by several search and rescue missions involving Kevin and Yossi, they were never found, and there was no sign of any campfires, human waste or evidence of animals being killed or vegetation being disturbed. Marcus' mother in Switzerland believed a story from a spiritualist that he was living in Peru, and Yossi agreed to try and locate him there with no success. None of the communities in the area had ever seen a gringo living there. They completely vanished into the jungle. Yossi's incredible survival story captivated the world. He wrote a book about his experience, Jungle, a harrowing true story of survival, which became a bestseller. His story was later adapted into a film, Jungle, starring Daniel Radcliffe as Yossi. Today, Yossi Ghinsberg is a motivational speaker, sharing his story of resilience, hope, and the human spirit's strength. His tale serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of perseverance, courage, and the will to survive against all odds. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to click on that like button and subscribe for more incredible survival stories.